Or you cross over with grace and ease because you're fearless. Because you know that there is no difference between being here and being there. He went on to tell me I had 12 more cycles and this, and 32 more and this, and there was one cycle that was 42 years, and beginning at 70. And I'm thinking in my mind, wait a second, 42 and 70 is what? Some mathematicians here. What is it? Well, that's a long time to be on the planet. But what I realized as he went into these cycles, that there was no beginning and no end. Because astrology doesn't stop just because you take your last breath. It's a continuum. And so thereby, we're undying and we're unborn. We're self-illumined. We always have been and we always will be. Because that thread will go whether you're in this body, out of this body, into the next body, out of the body, and on and on and on. And in that moment, and we catch the knowingness usually in a moment. It's like, if it's a meditation, if it's looking at something that's so wondrous from Creator, whatever it is, and the timing is God's. And it's grace. It was that moment of transcendence into what was really real. And that infinity was what was really real. And this body is finite, but we are so infinite. Another moment that gave me the crossing over, and I'm sure many of you have had these experiences. You can start remembering those wondrous moments of moments in your lives that actually maybe even brought about a new knowingness of your destiny. We know those moments. We never forget those moments. That crossing over. When my daughter was born, at home, during the ambrosial hours, before 6:30 in the morning, before the sun came up, we called Yogi Bhajan. He was in Amsterdam, we were in Los Angeles. This was 28 years ago. And I said, "Sir, you have a new daughter." And I was asking his blessings for a name. And I called and they said, "He's sleeping upstairs in the ashram in Amsterdam. And we don't want to disturb him," which was fine. I said, "Okay." As I was ready to hang up, this was like a half hour after she was born, he picks up the phone. He says, "Yeah?" And I said, "Sir, you have a new daughter. And we request humbly her name." And that was another moment. It was like he left. He went somewhere. You could feel almost like a rocket going somewhere so far away. And I have no idea the time between requesting the name and actually hearing her name. It seemed like infinity. And it almost felt like then he was coming back and landing on the earth. He had gone such a distance to get that name, crossed over to get the name. Came back and said, "Waheguru Kar." And that was it. And those are the moments that give us the indication of the reality. And those moments for all of us need to be cherished. Maybe not understood in the mental mind, because they never can be. If you've been with somebody who has crossed over and left this body, and you've been with them in those last moments, for someone who has prepared the crossing over, who understands the illumination and the celebration of crossing over, they go with such an ease on that last breath. We were with somebody when she was about to take her last breath, and she was fearless. And her conversation with us was so beautiful. And she said, the angels, they're coming. They're here. And she was in itself, she was in an illuminated state of consciousness. And they were calling to her. She was going back and forth, and then finally she crossed over. But it takes a certain quality of life to be able to cross over in that way. So today we'll have the experience of preparing for the crossing over, and that was one thing Yogi Bhajan did with us. He just taught us. Because nobody knows when, do we? Does anybody here? Can anyone tell me? There is an astrologer in Delhi. I've never asked him, but that you can actually find out when your day of crossing over is, if you want to know. Interesting, right? You can make an airplane ticket to come to Delhi or to travel in the world. You can make your holiday plans. You can do all kinds of things, which we do. Getting the flights, getting the reservations. But have we ever gotten a reservation for our last breath and where we would be? So it's important that we live in a peace, so that peace will always reign any place in our lives. So we will prepare for it, and then we'll do it, and then we'll all smile. Okay? Good?